There are players that are holding out now. There's players that have skipped out on.
Cincinnati has the worst problem.
Yeah.
Cincinnati is missing their top pass rusher and their number one draft pick because they apparently changed the language on him.
Yeah, so it's the kid from Texas A&M that didn't do anything at Texas A&M that everyone was scared of because he couldn't produce on the field. And
Built like Tarzan. Yeah, plays like Jane.
Yeah, exactly. And he apparently has attitude problems too, which are being kind of shown now. Did they whiff on this pick?
No, I don't think so. This is probably bore everybody to hear this, but this is one of those where it's like it's important for the team because they're trying to set a precedent on default language on guarantees for the entire roster. Because if they give in on this, then some veteran player is going to want similar language in his contract. And then on the player side, it's like the player, for his pride, doesn't want to get screwed, right? And then the agent, it's going to be used against him in recruiting if he loses that battle. So that's really what this is about. And generally these things get worked out unless all of a sudden then it turns into a territory battle, which is sort of what it's become now, and it's gotten really ugly. And, does the team want to set a precedent now, an additional precedent now of bending and breaking when a rookie sits out spring drills, which never happens, by the way. A lot of these guys start practicing in the spring. Now, they won't practice in the summer without a contract, but these guys practice routinely in the spring.
Travis Hunter, by the way, isn't signed and is there, correct?
And they sign an agreement, a waiver that makes it so if they get hurt, the team still has to pay them and everything else. And so that's normal. So this is a weird situation. It's also not a great look when, like you said, Fred, all right, one of your 5 best players, the guy who's had 35 sacks the last 2 years, is in the third offseason of a contract dispute, and you draft the guy who, is going to eventually replace him, and now he's in a contract dispute too.
Yeah, the Cincinnati's a terrible organization. All right, so the Dolphins are a team that intrigues me. They're looking to trade Jalen Ramsey.
Mm-hmm.
Are they, Patriots division, so it has something to do with the Patriots. Are they looking to win this year?
I think they're quietly rebuilding.
Okay.
And they're quietly resetting their roster. The scary thing to me about this, so Teron Armstead was their left tackle the last couple of years. They're going to be now relying. He retired. They're going to be relying on a second round pick from a year ago. It's kind of a scary thing. And Patrick Paul, Tyreek Hill. I think Tyreek Hill can be had. If you came to them with a first or a second round pick, I think you could probably get him. Jalen Ramsey's going to be moved. They're older in a lot of different positions. I think this is the beginning of a subtle reset. The tough thing I think for them is now it's you're going to maybe find out if Tua can actually carry a team. And I'm not sure that he can. And so that's what's interesting about this to me is eventually when you pay a quarterback like that, you're going to have to come to the point where he's going to have to make up for some things you're missing on your roster because of how much you're paying him. And I think now the Dolphins are coming to that point. Can Tua be that guy?
Could they be the worst team in the East?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I would say the Jets have the second best roster in the East.
I think the Jets I think the
good.
Jets are going to be competitive.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll make the playoffs, but I think they'll be more competitive than last year. Just based on the fact that Rodgers can't move his body. Just based on that, even if Fields just runs,
but I don't think they don't need Fields to be a superhero.
That's what I'm saying. Is even if Fields just his explosive plays are all running plays, I'm fine with that. If he dinks and dunks and just runs, but whatever. I
had this argument on TV last night. I'm so the guys that make it to free agency are by definition not core players. So you went nuts in free agency. How many of the guys that you sign in free agency are actually core players, right? Or were core players for their other teams?
Yeah, well, we've been over this. Yeah, when you go nuts in free agency, you're getting players that teams have chosen not to spend their money on.
Right. Whereas the Jets have, and I'll go down the list, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, Jermaine Johnson, Quincy Williams, Breece Hall, Olu Fashanu. Those guys are all core players, homegrown core players. And so I don't know. but that's where we had the whole argument about how good the Patriots are going to be this year, right? It's like, okay, like, so this is going to be the fifth time I've said this to you guys, but it's like the Raiders and Panthers see the same opportunity in playing you as you see in playing them. And I like this idea that you're going to just sweep all those teams, I think is crazy.
You're leaving something out. 2 years ago, that would have been an automatic loss for this team. We have progressed to the point now where we think the Patriots think they can actually beat these teams.
Right. And like I think if like let's say there are 8 of those games. I think if you go 5-3 in those games, that's great. You know what I mean?
And that's remarkable considering where this team was 9 months ago.
Right. And I think like you've gotten yourself. I think what they did in free agency is like they've gotten themselves to level ground at a lot of positions, right? Like so, like that's good. But does that make you a playoff team in the AFC? Like, no. And that's my whole thing is like, if you look at the contenders in the AFC, and we can go through any of them, you can pick out like 5 core players where you're like, yeah, that is the core of their team. I look at it like who are the Patriots' core players right now? It's Drake May, who we still don't know.
Who's a second-year guy, and there's a ton of question marks.
It's
right?
Christian Gonzalez, who I'd say we probably do know on now. Like
okay.
he's a really good player. I think he's probably a Pro Bowl level player. Like you hit on one there, and Will Campbell, who you have no idea.
Barmore,
right, and Barmore, who's coming back off the blood clots.
Mm-hmm.
Milton Williams, I think, we'll see. Now he's played really well, but like he wasn't even really a starter in Philly, right? Like it was Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. So, like that's the thing about it is like I look at like them. The idea was to get yourself to a competitive level at a bunch of different positions, and I just wonder how many people are getting over their skis on this and thinking, well, now everything's fixed. If you're looking at doing what Washington did last year, which we've compared those two a lot, right? You need Drake May to play like Jaden Daniels did. Because that's how that happened.
Right. A lot of pressure on Drake May.
Yeah.
A tremendous amount of pressure. Again, if he, last year it was, wow, he's really athletic and wow, he can make that throw on the run and da-da-da-da-da. But now you know that.
Yeah.
So now it's time to not turn the ball over. Now it's time to win games.
Well, and it flips too because it's like you think about like C.J. Stroud, right? So, and I made this argument before. People look at like last year as like a complete failure for C.J. Stroud, right? They were down by 1 point going into the fourth quarter at Arrowhead in the divisional round of the playoffs, and I think it kind of shows you how like it's the bar for guys. You know what I mean? Like the bar was so high for C.J. Stroud in year 2 that a good, not great year looked like, whoa, what happened to him? So I think it's kind of like a example of how expectations can kind of color what we're looking at. Our expectations were so low for Drake May last year because, rightfully so, we gave him excuses. He's got a first-year head coach, a first-year offensive coordinator. There's no talent on that side of the ball. The offensive line's a dumpster fire. All of that was valid, right?
And now people are picking you to make the playoffs. Stefon Diggs is at OTAs, but he has not been cleared to play medically.
Right.
Now, is this a kind of standoff? Kind of explain that situation and how that works in the offseason in the NFL.
Yeah, so I still think he probably winds up on PUP to start training camp, which is physically unable to perform list. It saves you a roster spot. And then teams will generally do that like with players who are coming back from this serious an injury because it allows you the flexibility if something goes wrong where you can still start them during the season on PUP. So my guess would be they start him there and then he's cleared at some point during training camp. And I think week 1's a realistic target. I know a lot of people made a lot out of the contract. I actually, the TV producers yesterday asked me, so I kind of went through the contract. There is an injury waiver in it, which I think this is kind of like what everybody's been getting at. So he's got a $12 million signing bonus. And there are things about him passing a physical to get to be entitled to the guarantees in the contract, right? So part of the guaranteed money is the signing bonus. But $4 million of the signing bonus has already been paid out because if you look at the structure of the signing bonus, some of it's deferred. So I believe the dates are. It was the first one's $4 million within 2 weeks of the execution of the contract, which was in March. Another $4 million on Halloween, and then another $4 million next March, which is normal. The way that these things get deferred out and everything else. Again, there's an injury waiver in the contract that's specific to his right knee, which basically reads that the team can basically. His guarantees are null and void, so they could go back after his signing bonus if there's any deterioration of the knee. So I think where people have been like looking at it, saying, "Oh, there's like the opening until he passes a physical." The way I read the contract, I think it would take his knee deteriorating, where it's a protection that the team sought and got in the contract. Where if for one reason or another things go really bad with the ACL, the team can go back after the signing bonus money and get that back.
Okay, so is there any kind of worry in his camp? Is this any kind of an issue?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think it's in his camp. Like they've been,
Tusi.
I mean, they've been dealing with it. That like this is sort of par for the course. Like I've said to you guys, I don't think he's a horrible guy. I've always liked my interactions with him, and I think like a lot of the people who've been around him. I know the people in Houston really liked him. I know some people in Buffalo really liked him. Brian Daboll, who's obviously with the Giants now, like has really liked him over the years. So he's had some problems with some people. He's had some problems with his quarterbacks, in some places.
There's a honeymoon phase we're currently in, but he tends to wear out his welcome.
It's just that there's always something. You know what I mean? There's always something that you're dealing with. There's always a little something out there. And so I think in a weird way, is it better that this happened now so you can set the ground rules with him? And so you can say, okay, like this was probably bound to happen. Something was going to happen, whether it was something like this or something on social media. And now at least we can say to him, like, you got to straighten up and fly right. The other thing is I do think like the not showing up for large portions of the off-season program, he's not like supposed to be pissed off about it. Like Vrabel's not supposed, like the team is not supposed to get pissed off about these things, but we know the reality of those situations.
Right. The very mandatory, non-mandatory sessions.
Right. And it's like, I mean, if part of it is you sit down with a guy and you talk to him in March and you're like, okay, like, well, we're really going to need you to be a part of this. As far as rebuilding our receiver room, and our receiver room was a playpen last year, and we had a position coach who didn't really know what he was doing, and we had some guys some kids who we thought were like Jalen Polk. We thought he was a really good kid, and it actually dragged him down. It wasn't just like the young guys weren't getting better. It's like the atmosphere in that room was actually dragging some people down. Well, like that's part of the deal, Steph. Like we want you to be part of fixing this, and then you don't show up in May. Like you can see where that can go the wrong way.
It still seems though like he's having an impact when you hear the other receivers talk and you listen to Drake May talk about him. I don't get the sense that they're just saying the right things. It seems like when he's around, he is that type of influence.
And I think that's why it's frustrating.
Yeah, but then you hear the comments from him where when people are asking him about the boat thing and all this stuff, and the things that he reverts to, the whole I've been in this league for 10 years. I've been doing this for 10 years. And the point I guess he's trying to get across is I've been through this stuff before. I'm not going to be tricked into talking about something I don't want to talk about. Yeah. But at the same time, my obvious reaction is if you've been doing this for 10 years, why do you keep stepping in these very obvious landmines and doing stuff that is going to invite this type of attention that nobody wants?
Because it hasn't cost him money. Because he's always been able to find a new home.
Yeah.
Because he's always been in that spot. I mean, even this one, I talked to a high up executive with another team a couple weeks ago when the pink bag of drugs first surfaced, and I like this guy said to me, he's like, one of my concerns if I were the Patriots right now would be, well, if this guy really cares, why didn't he just sign a 1-year deal with a contender? Like, why didn't he just go somewhere to go win? Like he's at the end of his career. He hasn't won a Super Bowl. He hasn't been to a Super Bowl. Like, why wouldn't he just go pursue a ring? And the answer is that he knows that he's at the end and he's cashing out. And it's like then you kind of kick around with some Patriots people on it, and I think sort of what they're counting on now is that, yeah, he probably was cashing out. You know what I mean? Like that's why you sign with a 4-win team, like a big like he is cashing it. Like this is his last bite of the financial apple. He's entitled to that. But when he gets on the field, he's such a competitive person that it's not going to matter that he cashed out. You know what I mean? Like that he and that is legitimate. Like that is a lot of the problems with quarterbacks has been that thing that star receivers have, which is like, I want to win. I believe the best way for us to win is for you to get me the ball. And if you are not getting me the ball, then I'm pissed about it. And it's, I mean, like one of the reasons Buffalo got rid of him, like, because Josh Allen, like they didn't want Josh Allen to be in a position anymore where every 3 throws he had to look over there if he hadn't thrown to Steph and figure out whether or not he was losing his mind.
Can I ask you a question? And this is just kind of random. When did, because general managers, coaches will be asked about diva receivers, and they'll go, "That's just part of what makes them great." When did that? Was it Randy Moss that kind of started that?
That's a good question.
Like that's kind of an interesting exercise. You don't have to do it now, but if you think back, like,
well, I think about like the one that sticks out in my head is Chad Johnson,
right?
And there was like a lot going on, but he was a great
Terrell
player.
Owens.
Terrell Owens was a big one with that like maybe early 2000s.
Okay, but those are cautionary. Like Terrell Owens is like a cautionary tale
Michael
too.
Irvin, maybe.
Michael Irvin was one. Well, Keyshawn Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's a cautionary tale for teams too.
But Irvin, you were covering. Were you not covering the team when he was there or not?
No.
You're not that old? Okay. Michael Irvin is one of those guys. Gotta be.
I wish I was there.
But
for
he
the White
wanted
House
to.
era. It sounds like it was a blast.
But those Cowboys teams seem to really be like unified. Now the way they bonded was over drugs at the White House, but not.
Yeah,
not
but they were
DC.
a powder keg that had like the right mix. Like I think what like a lot of football coaches will tell you is you need to have a few guys who are off just because of the nature of the sport. You know what I mean? You need to have a few guys where like the driveway doesn't quite meet the street.
Yeah,
the elevator doesn't go all the way up.
Yeah, football seems to really lend itself to that. By the way, if you want to see if that drug was indeed Tusi, someone sent me a video. I don't know if they sent it to you guys, but it's long. It's body camera footage of the police in Miami arresting this woman that she was, I guess, like an influencer, this like quote unquote model, whatever, 13,000 followers. She plows through, apparently, you don't see it, but she plows through this intersection. 2 people die, and she's on pedestrians like got her and like held her down, and she's on this Tusi. Oh, like she's sort of like a complete maniac. Like it's made her. She's like, there's a golden crystal in New York City. There's a golden crystal in New York City. Where this is da 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 da.
Like hallucination.
Yeah, like babbling nonsense. Like is completely unaware of her surroundings. Like it doesn't make it look fun. I can tell you that. It makes it look like you're having a schizophrenic breakdown.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.